Hey everyone, welcome back to the Polarr Next channel. I'm Aaron Nahara, your host and head of content here at Polarr Next. Today, we're diving deep into a Polarr Next first impression with the incredibly talented Gabriella Sutherland. Gabriella will be sharing her first impressions and honest feedback using Polarr Next. And it's a unique opportunity to see how a professional photographer like Gabriella can use our tool to take her work to the next level. So whether you're a seasoned photographer looking for new editing techniques or just a photography enthusiast curious about the magic behind the lens, you won't want to miss this insightful conversation. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an exciting episode like this one. Let's dive in. All right, welcome everyone to today's video. I've got a very special guest here from Columbus, Ohio, Gabriella Sutherland. We're excited to have you on and to get to know more about you and what you do as in photography and who you are as a photographer. So why don't you share that with us?
So I have been doing weddings full time for 5 years. I'm 28, so I started picking up a camera right after high school, kind of playing around with everything, and then found out that I really liked weddings and just everything about it, the portraits, all the details, everything, telling the story. So I really found out about 5 years ago that I wanted to do this full time, started doing styled shoots, things like that, and really just dove straight into it.
Yeah. So you kind of went over, other things before you got into wedding photography. So what were those like other things? Was it just like landscape? Was it just portraits of friends, things like that?
Yeah, so it started off for families and then senior pictures, and then I did a few I actually did a few homecomings for the military. So where all the families get to see their soldiers come home, and it's kind of like a high-paced situation. So
Wow.
you are in this gym with hundreds of other families, and all the soldiers get released at one time, and so you have to make sure that you stay with that family the whole time to capture them getting to see their soldier come home and making sure that you don't miss that moment. And you
Yeah.
have days where a lot of people don't you can't miss that first kiss moment too. And I really feel like doing those
Wow.
homecomings a few years ago kind of like set me up for, okay, this is a high paced situation. I actually feel comfortable in this. I really
Yeah.
like that type of thing. And so when my husband got out of the military,
Mm.
and then I found out that I really liked bride and groom portraits, I kind of felt more confident in
Yeah.
not being nervous in those high paced situations. Yeah.
That is amazing. I'm so glad I asked that question because it
Yeah.
just gives so much context. I mean, that is like that is such a good segue into wedding photography, I would say. And honestly, you're the first person I've met that um does that type of or did that type of photography. I don't think I've ever met anyone that's done something like that.
It's
And
pretty fun. It's a really cool moment to
mhm,
capture. Yeah, kind of like weddings. So,
yeah,
yeah.
I was thinking as you were talking, I was like, I wonder if there's someone in her family or if she's boyfriend or husband that was in the military. And sure enough,
Yep.
um, that's amazing. Do you still do that today?
No, I don't actually. We're not close to any major base where a lot of
Mm.
soldiers get to come home like that.
Do you
But I
feel
feel
like
fortunate.
if
Yeah.
you were like that's more ideal, I guess you'd say?
No, yeah, I think that would be more ideal as far as opportunities for that, but,
Mhm.
I think even if we were closer to a base, I would do that every once in a while, but, I would still probably very much do weddings.
Yeah.
So, I remember the homecomings that I did do, one of them, I mean, I had to stay up until, like, I think 12:30, 2 AM,
Wow. Wow.
because you're on call because the families get notified very shortly before, they get
Mhm.
home. So you have to make sure that you're ready and to head to the base and take the pictures right before they get
Wow.
there. So, yeah.
So after that, we started jumping into wedding photography. What year would you say that was?
I would say probably about 2018,
Okay.
and then decided to go full time 2019 with
Wow.
wedding. So actually, it was in March. So it's
Okay.
going to be 5 years this year in March. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
That full-time jump
Yeah,
something that a lot of people are afraid to do in
it's a
your
lot.
life. What were you prepped for it? Were you ready? Like, did
So
you? Yeah, go
I
ahead.
I was fortunate to have my husband kind of be the home base for me. So
Okay.
I was able to get that creativeness and get that focus
Hmm.
to go full time. But there, even 5 years into it, there's a lot of times where because the wedding industry is not as constant throughout the year as far as income goes, you
Hmm.
have to kind of prepare and plan and expect and pray in
Yeah.
my, case and all that kind of things, but it's so worth it,
Hmm.
100%. Yeah, because you get that joy whenever you find something that you really like,
Hmm.
and so that passion and that joy just kinda overcomes all of the fear and
Yeah.
the anxiety and everything of the what ifs, which kinda knocks you down more than, you gotta ignore those, so
Yeah. And real quick, before you did full-time photography, were you working a part-time job or something?
No, I was not, I was a stay-at-home
Okay.
mom.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. All
Yeah,
right.
so we have a son, just turned 7.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Congrats. What's his name?
Atticus.
Atticus. Oh, that's a first
Yeah.
for me too. That's awesome. I
Thank
like
you.
it. Could I ask you how much you charged for your first wedding?
Absolutely. My first wedding was actually in Kansas. First wedding I ever did
Hmm.
before I wanted to go full time, and I just tried it and loved it. I
Hmm.
think I charged $600.
Wow, six
Yeah,
hundred dollars.
yeah.
That's 200 more than I charged.
I mean, you gotta start somewhere, and you have to
Yeah,
start thinking about like how do you get your client base.
yeah,
It's practice, and
and
everyone starts from somewhere.
yeah, cool. $600 first wedding,
Yeah.
2018, going full time, coming up on 5 years. And so during your journey in photography, what was your editing journey like? Did you start
Um,
off in Lightroom or did you try other programs before you got into a groove with Lightroom?
So we all remember pick time in high
Hmm.
school, right? That really terrible editing. So that's what I played with in high school. I
Pick time,
Yeah,
the gallery service.
yeah.
They were editing also.
I'm pretty sure maybe
Wow, I
that's not
never
the
knew
right
that.
maybe that's not the right word, but I know it started with a
Okay.
P. But anyway, it was an online, really, really
Yeah.
terrible high school type editing service.
Okay.
So I guess that was the like very, very first. But in my business, I've always done started with Photoshop Elements actually, and then I went towards Lightroom, and I've used Lightroom for the past probably five or so years. So
Wow.
Photoshop, the Photoshop Elements I usually only use whenever I want to add a type of filter,
Mhm.
or if I want to blend or make a GIF out of a lot
Mhm.
of the pictures. But other than that, I've used Lightroom solely. Yeah.
Yeah, I've my my journey started with Photoshop Elements too.
Yeah.
That was I think it was like Photoshop Elements 10, and I could distinctly remember what those images looked like. They were heavily vignetted and heavily cross processed, and
Yep.
I don't
That's
know. That's just
probably what, yeah.
that's what I
That's,
did, and then yeah, and then I found Lightroom. So, can you take us through like kind of what is your current workflow with Lightroom? So, say you get done shooting your wedding, like what is your process
yep.
uploading and then editing and exporting?
Absolutely. So I never, well, I can't say never. Past few years, I have learned from experience that I do not export every single image that I have on my card from a wedding day immediately, because I feel like that takes up way too much space, and it takes up too much time for me in my productiveness. So once I get a wedding card and I import it, I don't import it yet. I'll go through Lightroom and view the pictures, select the ones I want to import and cull it first, and then export it. And then from there, I'll edit. I'll go through the whole wedding day and pick a couple that I like from every single scenario. So, like getting ready, ceremony, things like that. And I will edit it in my style. I will send them the sneak peeks. And my goal for sneak peeks is to try to usually give about 70 to 120 sneak peeks for them. And that holds them off for about 3 months until I finish their gallery. And then I will have a whole kind of sneak peek of the wedding day from that. But the editing, when I finish that, it kind of gives me a starting base for finishing the gallery. So I've kind of already done half of the work with the sneak
Hmm.
peek. And so I can just go back when it's time to finish their gallery, and I'll alter it slightly from there. So it's kind
Yeah,
of like a starting point, and then export it and send them their gallery online and give them a USB.
that's good. I like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of firsts with you today. I love it. I
What do
try
you
not to take my
normally do?
job too much for granted. I meet a lot of photographers, and there's a lot of similar workflows. But I like your approach. Even where like before you even export, you kind of cull out all the ones that are definitely not worth importing.
I think that a lot of the culling before I export and being selective on what I save for raw images comes from the fact that I started with editing on a laptop.
Okay.
So first ever, and I'm always very aware of how much space I have on my computer,
Yeah.
and I really like to conserve the space and try to find the best way to do that.
It's crazy how things evolve, because back in the day, weddings were limited to the number that you shot on the film roll. And
Right.
the number of wedding images people got back were definitely not in the thousands,
No.
And so now we're getting to a point where like web services like Pixieset just has an unlimited storage option, that
Mhm.
you could just literally, where like a couple years ago, photographers were saying, okay, I'm only going to store your images for a year. Now we have the ability to store it indefinitely,
Right.
and it's not really a hassle if you include it in your pricing, to be
Right.
able to pay for that and provide that excellent service to a couple. So, anyways, I say all that to say, like the wedding photography industry is changes so much with
Yeah.
technology, and as you said, your experience with you know, importing only the images you want to edit and then doing a further culling. I mean, that was a byproduct of like your circumstance and situation, with
Mhm.
your laptop. Let's talk a little bit more about that. So with editing, there have been some tools coming out lately, the last couple of years with the rise of artificial intelligence, kind
Mhm.
of the buzzword for the last couple of years. And we've seen multiple iterations of AI culling and AI editing. Have you had a chance to try out any of the AI culling or editing apps out there?
So the only AI that I have tried out so far is Polarr.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that is the reason why we are chatting today.
Absolutely, yes.
And so real quick, why is Polar Next the only AI that you tried out? Why didn't you
Because
try out all the other ones out there?
because I'm not gonna lie, I was against AI.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as a creative, I've done research since AI came
Mm-hmm.
out, and my biggest concern was that creative product is stolen, right? Um, and a lot of that is probably there's some lack of research too. I mean, I'm not well versed in AI at all. Um, but from things I've read, it has seemed like if you put any creative thing online, it's no longer yours because AI is an artificial intelligence. It's fake and it's computerized and it's out there forever, and people can use it however they like, and there's just a lot of gray area from this that I was always weary about. But after working with Polarr so far, I've been able to iron out like the details of what it means and the copyright and things like that, which have
Yeah.
made me feel more comfortable about it. And I've been able to kind of remove that fear and think more,
Mm-hmm.
specifically about it and what it really means,
Yeah.
and then how I can use it. And
Mm-hmm.
I have a business, so of course I'm trying to think of faster ways that I can edit and make
Yeah.
things more effective. And
Yeah.
Polarr has definitely done that. So
Yeah.
it's been
Yeah.
really helpful.
That's good. And thanks for sharing that. And I feel like you shared something that a lot of photographers still, feel about towards AI. I remember reading article about how a school photographer got in trouble for using AI editing, because the school thought the images they uploaded, right? Because at the time, this AI were edits on like a remote server, and so uploading all those school photos of children,
Hmm.
to a remote server that like parents weren't aware of. I
Absolutely.
remember reading that article, and that was something. So, but the thing you mentioned, with having to be more efficient with your workflow, I watched a creative live class, and I remember it was about wedding photography and how this wedding photographer optimized her workflow the more successful she got, because the
Mhm.
more weddings she took on,
Yeah.
and she needed to find some way to offload all that work, because a lot of our business is marketing and that
Right.
back end, and we don't have time for that when we're editing all day. And so this was like 2017, 2018, and I remember listening to her talk about how she pays, I think it was like 25 cents per edit with photographers edit, and you just like upload your images or your catalog, and then the people physically on that end edit, and then they kick it back. And I thought, like, man, I don't know if I could ever let go of that like artistic touch,
Hmm.
But the more like successful, I mean, whatever success is for me, but the more busier I got with weddings, the more I realized like I really need to start optimizing how I edit and how I do my business.
Yeah.
And I jumped into Imagine AI on the recommendation of a friend. First off, and Imagine AI was one of those where you upload your catalog to a server, and then it kicks it back down with the edits, and then you go in the Lightroom and you start editing. And I didn't like that because I had to pay for the edits before I got to see them. And
Yeah.
so like when I got in Lightroom, I'm like, oh man, like this is overexposed still, or I honestly don't like this look, I'm gonna have to change it. Then I'm like, dang, I just wasted all that money. And then
Yeah.
Aftershoot AI was another one. It's another one where you have to upload your catalog to another server, and that's pretty much how like all these other AI programs work that are attached to Lightroom. You upload that catalog, and then it kicks back the edits. And so, with Polar Next, that's a big differential with us and other programs. And I think, as you mentioned, like why it kind of like brought some like peace and calmness to you is that like everything is being done locally on your computer. You're
Hmm.
not uploading catalog to some server out there. We're not, seeing it. Everything's being done on your local machine. Like, is
Yeah.
that
I
something
love
that,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
And I
Uh,
also really like how it doesn't take up space on my computer.
that is huge. That's something I also tend to forget. Yeah. So I was chatting with someone the other day, and the first thing was like, man, I loved that all I had to do was just type in a URL, and then bam, there it is. I don't have to download. I don't have to wait for updates or anything like that. Not like Adobe Cloud is annoying with the updates, but that's the always thing, is just like, hey, we have a new update, we have this and that, and you got to download the program and yada yada. Whereas like Polar Next, you can just go to the URL.
Right. And it's
Yeah.
still, and you log in and it's in there. It's saved.
Where do you feel like editing workflows in general could improve?
I think a difficult part of editing, especially now, is creating a consistent color scheme
Hmm.
throughout all of your wedding galleries because
Hmm.
of all of the different backgrounds that you can get.
Yeah.
And I think that it starts in camera,
Hmm.
and I think that consistent settings in the camera space as much as you can. I mean, obviously lighting, is a big deal,
Hmm.
but I think that just trying to keep a consistency takes practice and takes experience
Yeah.
and takes a lot of time to kind of really figure out. For example, I know you had mentioned before with your clients, you kind of like work dependent on what they want per
Hmm.
client. And I think that it also comes to deciding what you want to even do with that. If you want to, as a creative, if you want to be consistent through every wedding and have like a style specific for you,
Hmm.
or if, or like how you want to run your business, you know, there's just so many types of different things as a creative that we have to decide on how we want to do it, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. And
Yeah.
then in comes the editing and the coloring and the practice.
Yeah.
And AI, after working a little bit with AI, I'm even still trying to learn this. I feel like I'm back to the beginning a little bit because
Hmm.
I have a baseline. I know from experience the colors that I want.
Yeah.
And so that's also really helpful. I'm confident in my base point.
Hmm.
But even AI, like I'm going through this program and the things that I would do in Lightroom for the colors
Hmm.
are not exactly what the AI is doing.
Yeah.
So that is
Yeah.
an adjustment. It feels like I'm starting at the beginning, but with a little bit of boost.
Hmm.
So it's like it's comfortable and I already know about it a little bit, but I
Yeah.
also have so much to learn still.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
I want to bring up too, for those who are watching, Gabby creates her own presets, and I believe you sell them, right, on your
I
website?
do. Yes, on my website. Yeah.
All
I
right.
just
And
came out with my signature one that I use all the time.
perfect.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and for those who are watching, you guys can check out Gabby's information in the links below. I'll have her website and Instagram. You guys can go follow her, check her out, and check out her
Yeah.
presets. And if you love her looks, definitely go support a photographer. As you said, with Polarr Next, it's getting into the mindset that you're out of Lightroom. Like you're getting out of that workflow you've been for 5 years. For me, it's been 10 years in Lightroom, and you're going into a new product, and it's a completely different territory in a way. And it's exciting, but that kind of pushes your creativity because the challenge is if you can get your preset looking the way you want it in Polarr Next, then what's stopping you from having an even faster, more efficient workflow with
I
Polarr
mean,
Next and
yeah, I would
taking
jump
that
on that
next, you
immediately.
know?
Yeah. Like
Um,
I'm in the process of trying to adjust and make that signature preset right now, and I think we're
yeah.
getting really close. I mean, um, they have been able to really match probably 80% of the preset that I gave them,
Hmm.
which is already a step up for my editing process because I don't have to start from the beginning
Yeah.
and change it all.
I'm excited to jump in to our live demo with you and to take a
Yeah.
look at your work, to take a look at how you've edited and your looks and everything like that, and see how close you've gotten to your look in
Yeah,
Polarr Next. So ready to switch gears and get into that?
definitely.
Okay, let's do it.
I have three up here. So this one is an elopement,
Mm-hmm.
more of a consistent background the whole time. And then this one is a city wedding. So you've got from start to end,
Okay.
about 800 pictures versus about 120. So I don't know if you want to start on a specific one. Maybe we could start with the elopement since that's my personal favorite because I love
Yeah,
the West Coast. So this was
let's
over
do it.
all I did was import this raw images, no edits, and
Okay.
then I added on this preset, the AI preset from Polarr Next that they've been helping me make. Um, so this is purely preset right here, and I went through this, and I just have. If you see a little bit of a different one, it's just because I made a reference,
Mm-hmm.
and there's probably about three of them. Let's
So
start.
yeah, you mentioned that Bore had sent you, our CEO had sent you your style, and they've
Yeah,
been working on it. When you applied it, what was your first impression on these images? I mean,
first
you said
impression.
80%, yeah.
Yeah, first impression was, wow, this looks different.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just because I'm sure that there was a lot of I'm really curious to see how the process for making an AI style works compared to previous because I really think that there's something going on with the colors.
Mm-hmm.
I really
Yeah.
feel like there's a little bit of a learning curve with the colors because with AI, I could be wrong, but from the presets that I made and the contrast and the blacks I've seen
Mm-hmm.
altered a little bit from what I would normally do for the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, no,
Um,
you're definitely right. There definitely is a difference with the way that Lightroom processes their images. I
yeah,
mean, they kind of keep that stuff under lock and key, the
Yeah.
secret sauce. And so with Polar Next, I mean, again, like all the other AI editors out there, that's why they rely on Lightroom so much, and they're more of like a plugin or an add-on because they bring that back into Lightroom, something that people are familiar with, and that's the challenge that we encounter with Polar Next. And it's a good challenge, creating creating a program that can process images and get you the looks that you're used to while being unique in your own
Right.
identity. You know what I mean? That's a big challenge. And um, hopefully, with your help and other photographers, we can achieve that with the program
Yeah.
like this.
So
So oh, go ahead.
yeah. I was gonna note, I also found it interesting that uh, so when I started this import, this
Hmm.
is the beginning of the session. And if we look at the colors, this is one that I changed. And so
Okay.
I'm gonna apply that to the images and see what it does. But
Okay.
a lot of blue right here, but I find it interesting the later in the day it gets, right?
Hmm.
The the more of the location changes a little bit and you have a little bit of a different background.
Hmm.
It's just more blue.
Hmm.
So that's another thing that I've been kind of playing around with too
Hmm.
and seeing what I'll be able to kind of mess around with as we go further.
Yeah. Your
So
your style is very unique. It's all very one color-ish, and
mhm,
very moody. I love it. So
yeah,
this right here is
yeah.
what your style leans more towards.
This is yes. So I would
Okay.
say lean more towards just for the sake of it's still in production for this style, and I'm
Okay.
still learning the right now. I'm getting more comfortable with matching the colors
Hmm.
to my style and the differences that this program has compared to Lightroom.
Yeah.
And I'm also learning about the reference edits. So I'm
Yeah.
curious to see what a good
Dang, look at that. Look at that already. You just hit that. And then I was gonna make sure that you had forward process only off because I wanted to see it go back, and sure enough it went back. And you can go ahead and full screen it. Sorry, you can pop that in full screen. Bam. And there you go. It's already going 60
yeah.
down below. Look at
So this
that.
is yeah, so this was after the preset that you saw, I did nothing to it. And then
Yeah.
this is just one reference picture so far.
Yeah.
And so we're already kind of getting to where I want to be with it.
Yeah.
And like we even so this is one of my favorite pictures from this session.
Wow.
And I can tell you that from editing it in Lightroom and editing it in Polar Next, this picture right here is incredibly similar, like almost matched exactly,
Mm,
which is
that's
great
awesome.
because it's been one reference edit, you know?
Hmm. Yeah.
So
That is really good to hear. I'm glad.
yeah.
I since the last time we met and then to today, we did push out a new release, and I don't know if you saw on the left side, there's the preset strength that now you can adjust the set of your preset above right underneath the camera info. And one other thing too is you have the ability now to preview presets by just hovering over. So if you like expanded those like earth, cream,
Mhm.
you're able to kind of preview.
That's cool. So that was one thing I was actually gonna note in
Hmm.
improvements, I guess would be the right word. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but um was being able to in this section down here in history, um
Oh, preview.
preview it. Yeah.
Interesting.
That way you can
Y-
go back and kind of see where it was without having to click on it because I haven't seen it do this in Polar
Doesn't do
Next, but
that. Does
it does
that
this
Lightroom?
yeah, no, yes. So it does this in Lightroom
Mhm.
where if I was to say I want apply AI style, right? And I want it makes these go away.
Okay.
So I won't be able to get them back. And it does it a lot with export too. Not sure if that's making a whole lot of sense, but
Yeah.
being able to preview this more
Hmm.
without it disappearing if I wanted to
That
change
is
it.
interesting. I'll literally bring that up in our meeting today, and we'll
Sorry
see.
if that's not very clear. I hope that makes some type of sense.
No, it
But
does. It
yeah.
makes it helps, honestly. Because I never really used history much in Lightroom just because I had the undo button. And
Mhm.
currently right now, Polar Next, we don't have an undo redo button yet.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I've been using the history a lot and I find it very intuitive. It's very quick, very fast just to go back a step. But I do like that I can just preview my history steps instead of clicking on it. And I don't know, quality of life adjustment there.
Yeah. I also really wanted to know, so in Lightroom with these, where are we
Hmm.
at? We go to HSL color.
Okay.
So there's no, at least from my experience, I could be wrong, I just don't know where the button is,
Yeah.
but I can't hover over and it tell me what color that is so that I can change it. I just have to guess.
Oh, like in your histogram or the
The
color picker?
the color picker.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that
Yeah.
might be something that we would add as well in the future. Um.
Because I know that the coloring is my main issue
Mm,
now, just trying to learn the AI coloring form.
yeah.
And so being able to kind of know what AI says that this color
Yeah.
is gonna be really helpful for me to be able to adjust without having to guess, is this red or not? And then just changing it until
Hmm.
I find it, you know?
Yeah, I agree too. That is very helpful. That's good. It's good feedback. I love it. Real quick, I mean, looking at the very first image and stuff like that, like what would you change if you were to edit this and deliver? Like just looking through everything, are there things that you would adjust or
Yeah.
yeah.
So, for example, with these, I'm gonna lower the exposure, and then there's a lot of luminance that I've been trying to play with and the whites and the highlights that I like to lower, but she still has a lot of luminance, and that's where this, coloring comes
Mm,
in because I'm trying to figure out which one it is,
yeah.
and it can be like a group of a few of them, but it's
I
comes with
wonder I
playing
wonder
around
if
with
too
them.
in the color grading,
Yeah,
those wheels, if you play with the
yeah,
luminance on like the highlights or whatever.
yeah.
Interesting. Man, your look is so cool. Like I want to edit a wedding or something like that in the future, in that
Oh,
style.
cool. I would love to see it. Yeah, so her luminance. So I'm gonna mark this as a reference and see what it does.
Bam.
So the other thing is the lock edit prevent AI from editing this photo again. I'm still learning about that because I guess I'm just illiterate in the understanding of that
Hmm.
portion too right now because I guess I don't quite understand yet why
Yeah,
it has to
so
be locked if I want
what
to
what
change it.
yeah, so what happened was if we could rewind the tape. So you marked this reference and it edited behind this photo and it edited forward from this photo. And down below the next photo over 204-2, that one is locked. Next one over. That
Oh,
one.
there
So
we
that one
go.
is locked and that one did not get edited um, when you just
So
marked that other one as a reference. So
why?
basically, the reason why we lock images is because say you're editing and you're touching. So like, sorry, go to the next one over like that, and then just adjust something. All right, and then let go, and then it should lock it. Bam, it locks it there because if you go to the next image and you adjust this and say it's like a different scene or scenario or something, you adjust it and then you mark it as a reference, it's not going to touch the ones that you locked because the ones you locked, you got it to what you want looking, right? You got it to how you want it to look. So now that you're processing everything, it's not going to touch those so that you have to go back and readjust it to where you wanted it. And if you want to, in the bottom left corner with the settings gear, you can turn on forward only processing so that as you're editing from left to right, you know, assuming everything on the left side of the timeline is already finished and done, that
Mhm.
that the Polarr Next AI is only going to edit what's ahead of you.
Okay. That's
So
really good to know. Yeah. So my other question is under presets. I guess my other comment is that I think it's really awesome that you can create your own presets here, just like Lightroom, but can you create your own AI
like AI
preset?
style.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look at the top right, Gabby V3, there you go. So you can rename it however you want. So this style is already being saved
Okay.
as it is. So if you were to go home, go to the left side and click on the home button. Would you be willing to change the style on that one?
Yeah.
Okay, so go up to that one on the right and then use a different AI style and then continue and then use from a previous project right there. And then there's your elopement. So it's going
Okay.
to take that style from there and use that. Another thing to note
Yeah.
is in that elopement project folder on your hard drive, Polarr
Yeah.
Next has already created a .style file in there.
Okay.
So when you click on that top right again, and then you go use a different AI style, and then continue, you can go import it .ai style, and then there you go. Then you just click on the style file, and there it is.
I mean, I give them props because it already gives me such a great baseline to go from. The blues is something that I've been really playing around with more, and I kind of it got a little bit better. I figured it out, which
Good.
has been really helpful.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
All right.
we go to these blues. I think it's probably just I'm assuming it's just because the time of day it was getting darker. And so it's just doing what it knows best. See, like even all I have to do is hit that temperature thing up a little bit
Yeah.
and it's pretty much where I want to put it.
Yeah. That's awesome. And the more that you use your style, this style, the Polarr Next is going to continue to train that style so that you get more concrete results as you go. So that's a really cool feature. My experience with other AI programs is you've had to upload an initial 5,000 images with the same consistent style
Oh my goodness.
for that program to kick down a profile for you to use in Lightroom. And then you would have to upload to update that style, you would have to upload 2,500 images at a time for it to like upload. And so it's hard because at least here in Hawaii, like the lighting differences are so drastic. And it's just hard to nail down that consistency. Whereas like Polarr Next, like it can create a style for you with just like this couple of reference photos you can edit through. And then bam, there it is. And then, once you have that style, when you import a new project, you just literally click on how we showed you, use a style from a previous project. Or if you no longer have that project in Polarr Next, you can go in your hard drive and find the style file and then just import that style file. And then, there you go. And it's all about maintaining that 100% creative control over like what the AI is doing in real time. And you haven't spent a cent, a dollar. It's just for your creative molding and controlling. And then when you're ready to export using the credits, whatever subscription you have, you feel good because you feel like you're finished, with the project.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
Yeah, I love this shot. Oh, these are really gorgeous.
I've been playing around with this wedding because it kind of gives an example of indoor outdoor. I wanted to see what the AI style would do with the whole wedding day, and I have to say it did pretty dang well for one preset. Yeah, this one I only altered the shadows a little bit in the blacks, and it's now a reference edit.
You
but
just loved it so much. Bam,
I just
reference.
love it. Yeah. Yeah.
When you imported it, how many reference photos did it ask you to edit?
Um, I didn't have any ask me to edit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you just, because you imported it with your style. So that's what
Yeah.
it will do is when you have your style already and you import, it'll just edit everything. But if you
Yeah.
created a new project with a new style, then it will have you. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So they had the preset ready for me. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. And these blues, these are more your style of blues, like what you're going for.
They are. Yeah. It just takes a little bit of changing up because sometimes they're so strong that it's just
Hmm.
so out there that I have to change it and mute it a lot. So a lot of these blues are down.
Hmm.
And depending on if I get like a good window light or something like that, and then that blue really just kind of shines in too hard,
Hmm.
then I will change it. Yeah.
Okay.
But it does pretty good with these. Like that table one, the table setting. So that's literally all I had to do was change the temperature and then
Do you feel
work with
like these are
it.
images that you could export and deliver to a client confidently?
Absolutely. Once I felt like I looked through all the pictures and the
Hmm.
coloring matched.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So does it export my question would be, does it export as far as size of file?
Hmm.
Is it the same for
Yeah.
JPEG? Yeah,
Yeah. So
okay.
your RAWs that you imported, man, these are 81.53. So
They're pretty
how
big if
much?
you show me.
Oh, what's the
Yeah.
megapixel of your camera?
Oh my gosh, it's a 42,
Yeah.
I
That's
believe. Yeah.
uncompressed and everything.
Yes,
It,
they're massive. Yeah.
and that's what's impressive about this is these are these massive files, but you've been slicing through it, no
Yeah.
problem. It's processing 200 going down like nothing, and like yeah, that's something I like for me is hard to get over because that was just such a big pain point for me with Lightroom was how much time it would take to load from image to
Well,
image and
it
load a
makes sense.
mask and load this and that. So
Yeah.
just from your experience using Polarr Next, is there anything just off the top of your head that like you just like Polarr Next over like your previous workflow?
I would say how fast it edits.
Okay.
It as far as the work speed, the fact that it just slaps that preset on everything and it works so much faster than Lightroom because
Hmm.
I've noticed that in Lightroom, even though if you do that, you're gonna screw yourself up because your lighting is gonna be different. But you know what
Yeah.
AI does? It notices your lighting
Hmm.
and it notices your situation. And
Hmm.
so it alters it a little faster for you so that you don't have to do as much work.
Yeah.
So the workload is definitely faster. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you use a lot of the retouching tools in Lightroom?
I
Spot
don't.
healing and stuff?
Not unless it's there's a sore spot in the picture that needs to be taken care of, like a dress strap or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, or a hair that's sticking out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. And you just take that into Photoshop instead or
No, oh well, I'll use Lightroom, yeah,
hmm.
but
Okay.
a lot of my editing is just straight the color toning and the preset that I want to make it. Yeah.
Nice. So awesome to see your beautiful work
Yeah,
and
thank
to see
you.
how you work in here and to see how your style's translated over. And it's really awesome to hear that, these are edits and these are things that you'd be willing to export and deliver that you feel that
Yeah,
confidence to do.
absolutely.
All right, let me bring us back to the other scene. And we're going to wrap this up here. I know your time is very precious and we're going to keep to it. So, at this point, is there anything else that you would like to say or share about your experience with Polar Next?
I'm excited to
Hmm.
play with it more. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see what that final AI preset is
Hmm.
or AI style and see how it is used.
Hmm.
Because if we, import that AI style and then I get to see like how other people like to use it and what they've used on their backgrounds and things like that. Because I've played around with my style for so many different backgrounds that I would be interested to see how well it portrays on like a different type of camera.
Hmm.
Because Sony obviously acts a little different than a Canon or a Nikon
Hmm.
as far as editing and things like that. So I would be interested in, as far as the whole program too,
Hmm.
how it changes the colors with the different files from the
Hmm.
different, since the colors from the Lightroom portion of it is different. Is it going to be different on the AI program
Hmm.
too? You know?
Yeah. I mean, as a Nikon shooter, I can definitely say that I do experience a difference in processing from Lightroom to this. But as you demonstrated today, it's kind of the similar process that I've had to go through is just adjust my values differently than I
Yeah.
would in Lightroom. And then I've been able to find that look that I feel is like my style and um,
Yeah.
roll
I
with
mean,
that.
even though it looks like Lightroom, there's a little bit of a learning curve because it is a
Hmm.
different program, but I like the comfortability of I know where these buttons are.
Yeah.
I know what this does a little bit, and it makes the process go a lot faster in learning it too. Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't have to pay to enter. It's just you can
Nope.
explore everything about it and try
Yeah.
everything out. And then when you're ready to where you feel like you want to invest in, a subscription or whatever to start exporting, that's something that of course is a business decision, but if it's really gonna help save you time and make your workflow more efficient, then maybe 2024 is the new year to invest in something,
Right.
to take that thing. So,
Absolutely.
Gabby, thank you so much for joining me on today's video.
Of course.
And it was great looking at your beautiful work and your style. And I can't wait to possibly have you back on in the future. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
excited.
yeah. And I know I mentioned to you we're gonna be at the imaging conference. So I don't know, maybe you'll be there too to say hi.
I am
We'll have a
hoping to
booth.
be there. Yeah.
That would be awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. And thank you everyone for watching. And again, just to remind you, Gabby's information is going to be down below. You can check out her website and Instagram. Check out her presets that she's
Yeah.
got going on if you like this style. And yeah, appreciate you guys. Have a good one,
Cool.
Gabby.
Thanks, you too.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you've gained valuable insights from my conversation with Gabriella and are ready to elevate your photography game. To stay updated with all things Polarr Next, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We have a ton of exciting content coming your way. And I also want to let you know that we've kickstarted our new Polarr Next Instagram account. So consider heading over there and dropping a follow. As we part ways, remember that every click of your camera can tell a unique story, and Polarr Next is here to help you tell it in the most captivating way possible. Until then, keep capturing the magic.